Star Fox Zero comes to the Wii U next week, and although the series has had several installments since its 1993 launch, in the form of Adventures, Assault, Command, and several other cancelled spin-offs, my fondest memories take me back to where it all began. The origins of Star Fox and the somewhat rebooted story featured in Star Fox 64 take place in a fascinating sci-fi universe that was heavily detailed in the way that only someone like Nintendo could pull off back in the 90s. Although the game's story and characters have some amazing details we'll be getting into, let's talk about the games themselves as games first, starting with Star Fox on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Although the game first appeared in 1993 and the Super NES was only about 2 years old at that point, Nintendo had been working on a secret plan to enhance the capabilities of the console even before it launched. They had prepared for expansion technology to be built into the game cartridges themselves, and although I won't get into all of the technical details about the Super FX chip, this chip really was like adding a second CPU to the Super NES itself. Doubling the processing power made for some graphics that were, at the time, mind-boggling. Looking back at it today, it's hard to see what made the game so special. But the fact that actual polygon-based 3D objects were being drawn in real time on a home console was truly impressive. People, even back then, complained some about the frame rate or the lack of detail in the environments, but Star Fox was a leap forward in what people expected from these small boxes sitting on top of their TVs. The sound effects were mostly unique to Star Fox games, always appropriate, and many with little nods to sci-fi movies of the past. The game featured moments of speech, though much of it in a fictional alien language or sound. Still, the feel that the characters were communicating with you was exciting. You had to react to their situations, even if they were caused by triggered events or scripted moments. It still felt extremely cool to work as a team. And that teamwork came through, even in Star Fox 64. Sure, there were obvious moments to try and teach you something, but there were other times you really felt like a team, a squadron of pilots going after a common enemy. The music in both the Super NES game and the Nintendo 64 game have several great selections, several of which have become iconic in their own right, heard time and time again and keyed in on for other franchises like the Smash Bros. Games. The Nintendo 64's Star Fox 64 was no slouch upon its release in 1997, when it came to innovating the Nintendo console experience. While Star Fox on the SNES had the Super FX chip, for many people, Star Fox 64 was the first taste of in-home force feedback, courtesy of the included Rumble Pack. Yes, this bad boy plugged into the back of your controller and gave tiny vibrations when you fired your weapons, subtle shakes as large enemy ships appeared overhead, larger vibrations when charging or firing a charged shot, and things like the bombs, direct hits, and collisions all led to a fierce rumble. It might not have been as revolutionary as the Super FX chip, but it was awesome to have it included in the special packaging for Star Fox 64. Both games feature what I'd always found to be well-balanced difficulties, allowing for some variation in the challenge depending on the route selected. You can even change course by performing certain tasks at certain points in the levels, finding an alternate exit to a level. In Star Fox 64, the story may change slightly depending on the path you take to work your way through the Lilat system. The manuals of both games include things like character bios for your wingmen and detailed descriptions of the various worlds you'll end up fighting through. But the thing I always found most interesting when I was growing up were the pictures featured inside the manual for the Super Nintendo game. Some of these pictures were also used as press and poster photos, but to this day I still firmly believe these to be some sort of puppet characters built and photographed. This is no hand-drawn artwork, and these aren't 3D renders. Someone went to the trouble to build the Star Fox team. I've forever wondered what happened to them. I wondered if they were intended for some kind of TV show, or if they had hopes of using some sort of actual videos and photos in the game where the characters' heads appear when they come up on the radio. Were there ever bigger plans for these puppet things? Maybe I've done research in all the wrong places, but I've never heard what happened to those old puppets. But Nintendo certainly reaffirmed those beliefs of mine when they premiered Star Fox Zero at E3 2015 with more puppets. So who is Star Fox? Who makes up the Star Fox team? The original Super NES manual tells an interesting story of how we got to where we are now. Background story. Origin of the Lilatian conflict. The Lilat solar system, located near the center of the Milky Way galaxy, is made up of several bountiful planets. No fewer than 3 of these worlds were home to civilizations teeming with industrious inhabitants. The other planets in the system provided boundless natural resources. The comfortable lifestyle enjoyed by the Lilatians was the envy of the galaxy, until the coming of the evil Emperor Andros. Emperor Andros was once known as Dr. Andros, a scientific genius who worked at an advanced lab on Corneria, the 4th planet in the Lilat system. Ever since his childhood, Andros' brilliance outshone that of other children. As an adult, Dr. Andros began developing a powerful engine based on hyperspatial energy. Selfish and blinded by ambition, he repeatedly conducted dangerous experiments at the heart of Corneria's most populated city. After many warnings from the planet's ruling council, he was finally banished from the planet for endangering the inhabitants of Corneria. Out of sight, out of mind, the inhabitants of Corneria soon forgot the menace of Dr. Andros. One day, however, Corneria's small defense force detected some unusual happenings on Venom, the 1st planet in the Lilat system. Strange unidentified flying objects were monitored maneuvering above the planet in large numbers. It was not long before the self-appointed Emperor Andros, who had fled to Venom, declared war on Corneria. The planet Venom had been completely remade by Emperor Andros into a gigantic military base. Andros hoped that with his military power, he could soon control all the planets in the Lilat system. General Pepper, the commanding officer of Corneria's defense force, decided to dispatch the super high-performance combat ship R-Wing to the defense of the planet, even though it was in the prototype stage of development. Because of the urgency of the threat to Corneria, however, he did not have time to train pilots for these advanced fighters. "We need the Star Fox team." This is the call sent out by General Pepper. "You are Fox McCloud, leader of the Star Fox team, a group of adventurers with outstanding combat skill. Your mission is to penetrate the defenses of the planet Venom and defeat the forces led by Emperor Andros. Your ability to maneuver the R-Wing fighter will make the difference between the return of peace to the Lilat system and the fall of Corneria to the evil Emperor. As team leader, you're also responsible for the safe return of your Star Fox teammates." It's always been rumored that Star Fox 2 was a finished and relatively polished game ready to go out the door, but it was cancelled by Nintendo knowing that the Nintendo 64 was on its way soon. Many of the ideas that made up Star Fox 2 were carried over to Star Fox 64, and Nintendo rebooted the entire franchise on the new console. Star Fox 64 has much of the same backstory when it comes to Andros, but it does fill in a little more detail when it comes to the Star Fox team. Although some of the text is borrowed straight from the game manual, the game has a narrated introduction which does a fine job explaining the story.
Corneria, 4th planet of the Lilat system. The evil Andros turned this once thriving system into a wasteland of near extinction. General Pepper of the Cornerian army was successful in exiling this maniacal scientist to the barren, deserted planet Venom. 5 years later, General Pepper noticed strange activity coming from Venom. James McCloud, Pigma Dangar, and Peppy Hare of the Star Fox team were sent to investigate. Upon their arrival, Pigma betrayed the team, and James and Peppy were captured by Andros. Peppy barely escaped Venom and returned home to tell James' son, Fox, about his father's fate. A few years have passed. Andros has again invaded the Lilat system. General Pepper has turned to a new Star Fox team, headed by Fox McCloud, to save Corneria and free the Lilat system once again.
The Nintendo 64 game really went a long way to give you the impression that you were strapped into an R-Wing, and that the player took the seat as Fox McCloud, an amazing pilot, not just pulling off so-called barrel rolls, allowing you to loop back, and when the game entered all-range mode and allowed you to essentially dogfight in an open arena, allowing for even more stunt maneuvers. Star Fox 64 really wanted you to feel like an elite pilot. Although the first game on the Super Nintendo couldn't have as much going for it at the time, the controls were floaty in just the right ways, putting you in the cockpit of an R-Wing and giving you the feeling of three-dimensional freedom, even allowing boost and braking to adjust your speed. Although I'm pretty excited to get my hands on Star Fox Zero soon, I had to look back at these classics with some very fond memories. abilities. But can Fox McCloud maintain his leadership abilities while trying to avenge his father's death? Is his father really dead? Will the battle with Pigma get too personal? Is the technology of the Star Fox team ready to handle everything Andros has to throw at them? The only way to find out is to strap yourself into an R-Wing, because this is just our story so far. Hey everybody, you just tuned in to the 16th episode of Our Story So Far. I can't even believe I've made this many episodes. I'll make you a deal. If you keep watching them, I'll keep making them. But I would really appreciate it if you would spread the word. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're watching, talk to me on Twitter, @NewAngel, that's Nuangel. Let me know you've watched a few episodes. If you follow me and tell me you've been watching my videos, I'm gonna follow you back. The latest episodes are always available at ourstorysofar.tv. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.